Julius Caesar was killed by men who claimed they were saving the Republic. But the tragedy was that by the time the knives came out, the Republic was already dying. Caesar did not create Rome's crisis alone, but he turned its cracks into a doorway to absolute power. For centuries, Rome had called itself a republic, ruled through magistrates, assemblies, laws, and the Senate. Yet Rome's conquests made the city richer, larger, and harder to govern. Wealth poured in, but it did not reach everyone equally. Small farmers struggled while powerful landowners built vast estates from conquest and slave labor. Soldiers returned from war to find that the republic they fought for had changed without them. Generals began to matter more, because soldiers increasingly looked to commanders for land, pay, and survival. Long before Caesar, Rome had already seen political violence, civil war, and generals marching on the city. Into the crisis came Gaius Julius Caesar, noble, brilliant, ambitious, and indebted. Caesar learned that popularity with the people could be a weapon against aristocratic power. He joined forces with Pompey, Rome's greatest general, and Crassus, its richest man. Their alliance, later called the First Triumvirate, bent the Republic's rules without openly breaking them. As consul, Caesar pushed through laws that made him beloved by many and feared by the Senate. Then he secured command in Gaul, where he could win glory, wealth, and an army loyal to him personally. Gaul would make Caesar famous, but it would also reveal the terrible cost of Roman conquest. Caesar wrote his victories as if they were clean, necessary, and inevitable. His legions crossed rivers and forests, turning Gaul into a Roman stage. Caesar's genius was real, but so was his ruthlessness. He built bridges, moved fast, and used engineering as a weapon of surprise. In Gaul, Caesar turned speed into strategy and strategy into legend. But resistance grew, and Vercingetorix united the Gallic tribes against Rome. At Alesia, Caesar trapped the enemy inside while preparing for another army outside. The victory made Caesar unmatched in fame, wealth, and military loyalty. To many Romans, he was a hero. To many senators, he was becoming a threat. The Republic had no easy answer for a commander who was too successful to control. When Caesar's command ended, his enemies expected him to return to Rome as a private citizen and face prosecution. Instead, in 49 BCE, he led his army to the Rubicon River. Crossing it meant civil war. There would be no easy way back. The Senate and Pompey fled, leaving Caesar to enter Rome almost unopposed. The Republic's crisis had become a war between two versions of Roman power. Caesar moved with terrifying speed, forcing enemies to react before they were ready. At Pharsalus, Caesar defeated Pompey, the man once seen as Rome's greatest general. Pompey fled to Egypt, where his story ended not in glory, but betrayal. Caesar followed, stepping into the politics of Egypt and the legend of Cleopatra. Back in Rome, Caesar stood above the Republic as dictator, reformer, conqueror, and problem. He reformed debts, colonies, citizenship, and the calendar, governing an empire beyond the old system. His new calendar would outlive him, proof that even political crisis could produce lasting order. Caesar also showed clemency, pardoning many enemies instead of destroying them. But mercy could feel like domination when it came from one man above all others. Honors piled up around him, statues, titles, triumphs, and symbols that looked dangerously royal. Romans hated the word king because their republic had been founded against monarchy. When Caesar was made dictator for life, fear hardened into conspiracy. Some believed killing Caesar would restore liberty. Others feared it would unleash something worse. On the Ides of March, Caesar entered the Senate one final time. The attack was sudden and political, a murder staged as an act of liberation. Among the conspirators was Brutus, whose name made the betrayal feel like history repeating itself. Caesar fell, but the Republic did not rise. The assassins had removed the man, but not the armies, ambitions, debts, fears, and inequalities that made him possible. Rome stood stunned, suspended between grief, relief, panic, and uncertainty. Mark Antony turned Caesar's funeral into a political earthquake. Caesar's will named a young heir, Octavian, who would prove more patient and more dangerous than anyone expected. Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus formed a harsher alliance, openly violent from the start. The men who killed Caesar were defeated, and the Republic's old defenders disappeared from history. Then the victors turned on each other until Octavian stood alone. By defeating Antony and Cleopatra, Octavian ended the wars that Caesar's rise had helped unleash. Octavian claimed to restore the Republic, but he kept the power that mattered. Under the name Augustus, he became Rome's first emperor, proving that Caesar's death had not saved the old system. Caesar was not the whole cause of the Republic's death, but he became the blade that cut it open.